Today we're going over section 1.5, which is powers with negative rational exponents. So powers with a negative integer exponent and a rational base. So for example, if we have a over b to the power of negative m, that's the same as b over a to the power of m. So we just flip the numerator and denominator, and we change our sign from a negative to a positive. We also have restrictions that a cannot equal 0 and b cannot equal 0. That's because we cannot divide anything by 0. Okay, evaluate each power. So we have 7 to the power of negative 2. So 7 is technically the same as 7 over 1. So this becomes 1 over 7 squared, which would be 1 squared is 1, 7 squared is 49. Next one, we've got negative 2. So we have 1 over negative 2. That's to the power of 4. 1 to the power of 4 is 1. 2 to the power of 4 is 16. Next one, we've got 0.2 to negative 3. 0.2 can be written as a fraction. It is just 2 over 10. And then that's to the power of negative 3, although we can actually simplify this fraction more because it'd just be 1 over 5 to negative 3. So we'll flip this, so that becomes 5 to 3, which is 125. Next, we've got 18 over 15, so we'll flip that. So we've got 15 over 18 squared. Both of these are divisible by 3, so we'll simplify it. So that gives us 5 over 6. Now squaring them, squaring the top, gives us 25. Squaring our denominator gives us 36. Next, we have powers with negative rational exponents. So if we have a to negative m over n, that means we flip it and we have our root, where m is our value of our exponent on a and n is our nth root. Now we can write it in two different ways. Either way, it's the same thing. And our a has to be greater than 0 if n is even, because, for example, we can't take a square root of a negative. Okay, so example, evaluate each power after writing in the form 1 over n to the power of a over m. So this first one, we've got the negative, so therefore we have the 1 over. And then because it's a 2, it's just, that's going to be our exponent on this side. And the 3 will be in front. So that would give us 1 over the cube root of negative 8 squared is 64. Cube root of 64 is 4, so we have 1 over 4. This one I would change into a decimal, so that'd be 100 to the negative 5 over 2. We'll get rid of negative by going 1 over. And then it's got 2 here, so it's a square root of 100 to the power of 5. Which will give us 1 over 100,000. Next one, evaluate each power after writing in the form 1 over bracket root of n over n of a, close bracket to the power of m. So we'll write in this form. So we have 1 over bracket. We've got a 6 here, so it's a 6th root of 64 to the power of 5. So that gives us 1 over 6th root of 64 is 2 to the power of 5. 2 to the power of 5 is 32. This one has a negative in front. It's not in brackets, so we have to remember that that stays in front. So we have negative of 1 over, we've got 4 here, so 4th root of 81 to the power of 3. Now the fourth root of 81 is 3. So we have 1 over 3 to the power of 3 with a negative in front. So we've got 1 over 27 to negative. Powers of negative rational exponents and rational bases. So if we have a over b to negative m over n, that gives us the nth root of b over a to the power of m, or we could write it as bracket nth root of b over a, close our bracket, to the power of m. So evaluate each power after writing in the form the nth root of b over a to the power of m. So our first example, we have this one here. So it's going to flip it, and the 3 is going to be for our root in front. And then we'll have 8 over 1 squared. 8 over 1 squared is 64, so we have a cube root of 64, which is 4. Next, we've got 100 over 9 to negative 3 over 2. So that would be the square root of 9 over 100 cubed. And when we simplify this, we get 27 over 1,000. Next example, evaluate each power after writing in the form. Bracket nth root of b over a, close bracket, to the power of m. So this one would be the fourth root of 64 over 324 to the power of 3. Now this can be reduced, so we'll do that as our next step. So we have fourth root of 64 over 324 reduces to 16 over 81 cubed. The fourth root of 16 over 81 is 2 over 3, and then we've got that to the power of 3. So that gives us 8 over 27. Next one, we'll change this one. So we have bracket and root. So our third root of negative 64 over 125 to the power of 2. Now we can take the cube root of 64, which will be 4 over the cube root of 125, which is 5. That's being squared. Squaring this gives us 16 over 25. Now, practice work for a section can be found on page 55, numbers 3 to 8, 10, 11, and 14.